Hey guys, it's Into the Stars, and this is probably going to be one of the most important videos that I've done, so I'm just going to get right to it. This is to silence the critics, all of the critics who do not believe that the Nephilim bloodline has infiltrated the human race, and that Jesus is the only way to purify our blood. I'm going to show you the exact lineage of the Nephilim bloodline down through the ages, and why the judgments happened against certain peoples in the Bible. I've actually been able to, through much research, come to the conclusion that this in fact is the case, that the Nephilim bloodline has proliferated through our history. Now we're going to start here. Who was Ham? Well, Ham was of course on the ark, and we know that Ham was of pure blood. We know that because Noah was of pure blood, and we know that Noah's wife was of pure blood. So Ham was not the one that actually had the corrupted bloodline. It was Ham's wife who had the bloodline, and I'm going to explain to you why. Now, it says here that Ham begat Cush, Mizraim, Phut, and Canaan. Okay? Now, let's take a look at these names specifically. Cush, Mizraim, Phut, and Canaan. Mizraim we know is Egypt. Now it says here that Mizraim begat the Naptuhim. Does that sound like Nephilim to you? It also says that he begat Casluhim, of whom came the Philistines. Now Mizraim was the son of Ham, of course, which is Mizraim is Egypt. So through Egypt we had the Philistine bloodline, and of course all the Pharaoh, which we see supersized in the hieroglyphics throughout Egypt in the modern day. And of course we identified the Philistines as having the giant bloodline as well. Now Cush actually begat Nimrod, so Cush was Nimrod's father. Okay? Canaan was also a people that is mentioned in the Bible that were of the Nephilim. We're going to show you that. Let's go on to the next part here. Here it says that Cush begat Nimrod, and Mizraim begat Ludim, Ananim, Lahibim, and Nephilim. And Canaan begat the Jebusites, the Amorites, the Girgashites, the Hivites. These were all people that had judgments against them. Now we have already identified that Ham's wife was Nephilim because Canaan was cursed, and I'm going to show you the bloodlines from Ham of giants mentioned in the Bible after this point that prove that Ham's wife was the one who carried the gene. Okay? Now we're identifying here in this portion that Canaan begot all of these people that had judgments against them, the Jebusites, the Amorites, and I'm going to show you that later. I just wanted to establish to you the Cush bloodline that came from Ham. So we've done that here. Now, it goes on here to talk about the Canaanites. We're in Deuteronomy. And this is the judgment that God made against those peoples that we just mentioned. The Amorites, the Perizzites, the Hivites. Remember, these all came from Canaan in this slide here. Jebusites, Amorites, Hivites, okay? The same people. They came from Canaan. And that is why God had to make the judgment against them, to annihilate their race, okay? Now we're following the bloodline. Now here is where we tie in all of the tribes that were mentioned that descended from Canaan, and we tie that in to the actual Nephilim and the giants. This is the story of the scouts that had gone out from the camp of the Israelites, from Aaron and Moses, to scout out the land. And they went to the different lands, the lands that were mentioned as descendants of Canaan. These lands were the Jebusites, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, and the Amalekites. Okay, these are many of the names that are mentioned that were descended from Canaan. So what did the scouts have to say? Well, the scouts said that of the land which they had searched unto the children of Israel, the land through which we have gone to search it, is a land that eateth up the inhabitants thereof. Where else do we hear about cannibalism? We hear that in the book of Enoch. The Nephilim consumed men. And here it is in our Bible, showing the same thing. And all of the people that we saw in it are men of great stature. All of the people. So all of these peoples that we just mentioned, which were descended from the Canaanites, were of great statures. And of course then they say, we saw the giants, the sons of Anak, which come of the giants, and we were in our own sight as grasshoppers. Now here are some specific people that weren't associated with any bloodline that the Bible actually calls straight out that they are giants. And it says here, they were giants. We saw the giants, the sons of Anak, which come of the giants, and we were in our own sight as grasshoppers. So they were so small, they were small as grasshoppers, but the Bible comes right out and says that they are giants. I don't know why people are so resistant to this idea. And that's not just one story about giants. We have Og of Bashan, and it says here that Og was what remained of the remnant of giants. Okay, this is in Deuteronomy. His bedstand was a bedstand of iron. 9 cubits was the length. Now, a cubit is about 1.5 feet. It's the distance from the end of your fingers to your elbow. And 4 cubits was the breadth. It calls him a giant. Now again, Og, we cannot relate specifically back to the Ham bloodline, but I'm just showing you examples of other giants in the Bible. Here's a man from Gath with 6 fingers and 6 toes on each hand. Okay? And it says here, there was a war against the Philistines, with the Philistines. And Elhanan, the son of Jair, slew Lami, the brother of Goliath the Gittite, whose spear staff was like a weaver's beam. So once again, they're giving you a point of reference of the size of this person. Okay? The Philistine was a giant. How do we know? Because it tells us here in 2 Samuel. These 4 descendants of Rapha and Gath, they fell into the hands of David and his men. These 4 Philistines were descendants of the giants of Gath. The Philistines were giants. Again here, there was a war at Gath. There was a man of great stature. These were born into the giants in Gath, and they fell by the hand of David. David was the pure bloodline. The pure bloodline is explained here in Genesis. It's the line of Shem. Shem is the pure bloodline. Shem, Semite, the true Jews. Okay? And the Bible makes it a point in Genesis 10:21 to go through and talk about the bloodline of Shem, to show that it is pure. And they track it all the way down through Abram. And then they track it further in other books of the Bible. But they get us to the point of Abram in late Genesis and in the book of Genesis. Here we have another giant named Rapha, and another giant named Saph. And I'm sure you're starting to see a pattern here, where the Bible actually compares these giants to objects so we can get an idea of how big they are. In this case, one of the descendants of Rapha, whose bronze spearhead weighed 300 shekels, and who was armed with a new sword, said he would kill David. Now, 300 shekels is a very heavy spearhead. it is 5 to 10 times the normal weight of a normal spearhead. Spearheads had to be light and agile. It says here, in the course of time, there was another battle with the Philistines at Gob. At that time, Sabiki and Hushathite killed Saph, one of the descendants of Rapha. So Saph is another giant. So where are we at now? It says here, the descendants of Anak came from the Nephilim. That's Numbers 13:33. We seem like grasshoppers in their eyes. So we have very specific verses showing us exactly what we're dealing with here. The one I think that is most descriptive of where these bloodlines came from is here in 1 Chronicles 1. And it actually names the different tribes that spun off from Canaan. Okay? And then we of course know that Canaan was the son of Ham. Okay? Now hopefully this is making sense to you guys, or at least giving you some references to look through and follow this through. Okay? Because it has been a point of contention. People are very resistant to the fact that amongst all these giants mentioned in the Bible, and I haven't even covered all of them, that we somehow avoided mixing the blood of the Nephilim with the human race. That's ridiculous. It's almost like saying we don't have the blood of Adam. Of course we have the blood of Adam. We descended from him. And as you know, races mix with each other. Now there is one more reference in here that I didn't pull up, and it talks about God telling the peoples, do not mix with these people. It says, do not mix with the Jebusites, the Amorites, the Hivites. Why would he say that? Because of the corrupted bloodline. Okay? He had to keep the bloodline pure down through to Jesus. Okay? So, this is open for discussion, of course, but here's the proof, you guys. We have mentions of giants throughout the Bible. We have the peoples that were annihilated by God, and the peoples and the Israelites. The Israelites were told to annihilate these people. People descended from Canaan. Canaan was cursed. Canaan came from Ham's wife. Ham's wife carried the Nephilim bloodline. We had the Philistines, Anak, Og, all of these giants mentioned in the Bible. You cannot avoid it. It is there. Anyway, you guys, take care and be safe.